All right, Shalom. This is the brother Nahalia from the GMS Orlando camp. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rokakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yasher Allah, and a sincere salutation to all you Akim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwath, who are believing this word, in all truth and in sincerity. Yahweh is the name of the one they ignorantly call God. Yahweh Shai is the name of the one they ignorantly call Jesus. Bahashem is in the name. Rakah is spirit. Kodash is holy. Akyam is brothers. Akwath is sisters. Shalom means peace, and Yasher Allah is Israel in the ancient Paleo-Hebrew. It's Revelation chapter 13 and verse 16. And it reads, "And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name." Now, this lesson is inspired by the recent clip put out from GMS Watchmen concerning IUIC and their breakdown of Revelation, the 13th chapter. Now, for those who don't know, they believe that the mark mentioned in Revelation, the 13th chapter is sin. All right. So let's move on that point real quick. This is Romans chapter 3 and verse 23. "For all have sinned and come short of the glory of God, being justified freely by his grace through the redemption that is in Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai, whom the Most High has set forth to be a propitiation through faith in his blood, to declare his righteousness for the remission of sins that are past through the forbearance of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai." Now, I bring that out to highlight a very important point, because, again, you have these guys who, concerning IUIC, they're very cunning, if you will, with the scriptures, because while they make this point that the mark of the beast is sin itself, they overlook the fact that you're not justified by the laws that you can keep. You're not justified by those. We show our faith through our works, but ultimately you're not justified by the laws that you can actually keep. Because, again, we're in a society where you can't keep all of the laws perfectly. So in essence, you already have the mark of the beast, if the mark of the beast itself is sin. Now, I want to highlight another point. All right, this is Revelation chapter 3. And I'm going to jump down to verse 10. And it reads, "Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world, to try them that dwell upon the earth." Now, think about this, right? If we've all fallen short, and Paul is talking about us all falling short back in his time, then what is the hour of temptation that we're being protected from? These are very important points, because this hour of temptation is going to try the entire world. Sin has already been in the world. This is something that's not going to be introduced in the last days. It's already here. So I wanted to touch these points through the spirit, because, again, what was very cunning, if you will, is that he pointed out that his stance is that the mark of the beast is sin. But then he showed a lot of videos that highlighted the digital currency and the rise of a digital currency. Now, let's go back to Revelation, the 13th chapter. All right. Now, let's go back to verse 17. And it reads, "And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name." All right. And this is a very important point, right? Because even now, as we strive through the spirit to walk according to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai's will, we're not questioned in Walgreens or Chipotle or Walmart or your favorite Mediterranean restaurant. You're not questioned on where you stand. You're not questioned on if you've sinned. Commerce happens willingly and voluntarily, and there is no restraint according to what you believe in if you've transgressed, if that makes sense. Now, I'm establishing this through the spirit to show forth that, again, this mark that's being spoken of in Revelation, the 13th chapter, is not referring to sin itself. All right, it's referring to something that's going to be made mandatory. All right, which shall try the world, as the scriptures say. Now, another point that I want to touch is Revelation 13. And I want to get the Greek word for mark. And that word is charagma. All right. And it says a stamp and imprinted mark. All right. Now, when you get this word imprinted, it says stamp, fix. All right. Now, let's go here. All right. Now, when you deal with the root word, it says from kerasso, to sharpen to a point akin to G1125 through the idea of scratching. It says a pale or stake, a palisade. All right, let's look this word palisade up. It says a fence of wooden stakes or iron railings fixed in the ground, forming an enclosure or defense. All right, it says a palisade or a rampart, pales between the earth, stones, trees, and timbers are heaped and packed together. Now check this out at the Strong's definition. Kerasso, to sharpen to a point, through the idea of scratching, a stake, an example, a palisade or rampart. All right. Now this shows you that the mark itself is physical. All right. This shows you very importantly that the mark itself is physical. All right. And when you look at this root word, it says to write with reference to the form of the letters. Now, when you deal with this mark, all right, it says you can't buy or sell without it. All right. Now, we understand that the number of his name, that 666, goes into that barcoding system. All right. But when you look at this mark, when you go into the etymology of the word, it's going into something that is physical. Hence, Yahushua saying this in Revelation, the 3rd chapter, in the 10th verse, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. Now, let's go here. Revelation chapter 3. And we are going to jump down to verse 10. All right. And it reads, this is in the NLT. All right. Revelation 3 and 10. Because you have obeyed my command to persevere, I will protect you from the great time of testing that will come upon the whole world to test those who belong to this world. Now, if the mark itself is sin, then what is this hour of temptation? You know, because ultimately the way IUIC is playing this out is that the mark of the beast itself is sin, and that they're going to use money to force you to sin. So you can't go into Walgreens unless you ate something abominable, or, you know, you've done some kind of transgression, some type of transgression against the law. Now, when you look at the world and how it's playing out, of course, we understand the CBDCs and the digital currencies are all platforms to control behavior. Yet the point is not necessarily to control behavior to force you to sin. All right. But to control your behavior so you don't speak against the mark of the beast, so you don't speak against the system. It's not. So when you deal with this mark, it's not dealing with Esau attempting to get you to transgress the law per se, but it's a system of control. And it's ultimately going back to that digital all right, when you deal with the law. OK. So it's not like Esau's going to be at Walgreens and saying, did you eat pork today? Did you commit adultery? There's not going to be places where it's like, this is what's going to be said. And if you haven't transgressed the laws, then they won't let you in to use their digital currency. That's not the system that's being established. It's a system of control to control behavior, but it's not specifically set up for you to have to commit sin. All right. To buy or sell. The mark itself, the incision itself, the digital all itself is the mark, the physical mark. OK. Now let's go here. All right. This is Exodus 21 and 6. Then his master shall bring him unto the judges. You know what? Let's go up. Verse let's start up. This is Exodus 21:2. If thou buy an Hebrew servant, 6 years he shall serve, and in the 7th he shall go out free for nothing. If he came in by himself, he shall go out by himself. If he were married, then his wife shall go out with him. If his master have given him a wife, and she have borne him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out by himself. And if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free, then his master shall bring him unto the judges. He shall also bring him to the door or unto the doorpost, and his master shall bore his ear through within all, and he shall serve him forever. All right, because Esau is very privy to the law as well. All right, and a part of him being privy to the laws, he understands that that physical mark gives him ultimate control over you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. He can track where you're going, and now he can control your behavior. Now, the point of him controlling your behavior isn't to just say, look, you can't go into Walgreens or Walmart unless you've eaten pork or you've eaten shrimp, crab, or lobster. But it's the point of being able to control so no one can actually speak against him without repercussion, if that makes sense. Because the argument that the mark itself is sin, all right, is saying that Esau is going to set up a system, and basically his only goal, his only aim is to make sure you're eating abominable foods, all right? You're not, you're committing adultery, and these are the requirements for you to use your digital currencies. And that's not the case. It's ultimately for control, not just of the Israelites, but of his own people and the other nations. All right, this is Exodus 21, and I'm going to jump down, and I just want to get this Hebrew word for all right, because we showed that the mark itself was physical. Now let's go here. The word for all right, it says martazah or martazaya, and it says all boring instrument. All right, boring instrument. All right, when you go into this word boring, you know what? Let's do this. Let's go into boring instrument. So it says, what is a boring instrument? It says a pointed tool for marking surfaces or for punching small holes. All right. So this is what a servant would do to show loyalty or allegiance to his master. And that's why ultimately when you deal with the hour of temptation that Yahushua spoke of, it's going to try the entire world. Now, sin has already tried the world. All right. Particularly the world of Israel, because we were given the law, statutes, and commandments. This wouldn't be a new thing. This wouldn't be sin itself wouldn't be a new thing, because even now, all right, when it comes to sin, we all fall short of the glory of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. All right. And it shows you that ultimately that mark mentioned in Revelation, the 13th chapter, is something physical, i.e., all right, which is the mark of the beast. All right, the CHIP is the MOTB. Whether you can receive it or not, this is true. All right, and when you look at this from a spiritual perspective, precept upon precept, it's very obvious that the mark in the right hand or the forehead is not sin itself. And this logic is based on the laws that guys can actually keep in this society. They negate the ones that we can't keep and say that, well, the Lord is only holding us to the laws that we can keep, and we're judged based on our works. Our faith is shown through our works, but ultimately we're not justified by our works. So ultimately we all have the mark if the mark is sin. All right. So I want to highlight that point through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Salaki, I want to highlight that point through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, because again, you know, these are things that are not hard to understand. But you have these guys who are very subtle and very cunning in their ways. You know how they linked up Revelation 13 to Revelation the 17th chapter. And Lord willing, I'll put the link of the video that GMS Watchman put up in the description. But again, it's very easy to see through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai that the mark itself is not sin. All right. The mark itself is physical. All right. And Esau's goal is to control people, not just the Israelites, but the entire world using this digital system. All right. Because the narrative of he's going to force everybody to sin using his digital currency. All right. He's going to control people, but it's not to the aim of making sure you eat abominable and you commit adultery and things of that nature concerning transgressing the law. It's a form of control. And ultimately, it's that digital all. And it's that separation between those who trust Yahweh Shema Shai and those who trust in the spirit of Egypt. All right, as the scriptures say, let's go to it. Isaiah chapter 30 and verse 1. Woe to the rebellious children, saith the Lord, that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin, that walk to go down into Egypt, and have not asked at my mouth, to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh, and to trust in the shadow of Egypt. And that's ultimately what that mark of the beast is going to indicate. Who does Jake trust more? All right, this is Revelation 14:9. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of Yahweh Shema Shai, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. Now, if this mark is sin and we all fall short of the glory, then who shall be saved in that case? You know, because the standard isn't based on the laws that we can keep. It's ultimately based on the mercy of Yahweh Shema Shai. And the elect will show their faith through their works, but they're ultimately not justified by their works. So when you say the mark of the beast is sin, we've all fallen short. So in essence, when you say that, you're saying we all have the mark already. So what's the point of the hour of temptation, if that makes sense? This is how we understand that this mark is physical. And at that time, that hour of temptation is coming. All right, so Lord willing, this was edifying with that. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yashar Allah, and a sincere salutation to all you Akim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwath, who are believing this word, in all truth and in sincerity. Shalom.